When someone is constantly on your mind, it's not because of boredom or curiosity, it's because something inside you has been activated. Real emotional connection doesn't shout, it repeats. It shows up in quiet moments, in between tasks, in the pauses of your day when nothing else is demanding your attention. That's when a person's presence becomes unavoidable. You might not even be thinking about them on purpose, yet their name, their voice, their energy keeps resurfacing. This is how the mind reacts when the heart has been affected. Superficial attraction fades in and out, but emotional attachment loops. It returns again and again because it is tied to feeling, not appearance. When someone listens to you differently, understands you without effort, or makes you feel safe enough to be yourself, the brain stores that as something valuable, and the mind is designed to revisit what it values. That's why even during busy hours or moments of laughter with others, that person quietly slips back into your thoughts. It's not obsession, it's recognition. Your emotions are trying to make sense of a connection that hasn't been completed yet. The longer the connection remains unresolved, the more frequently the thoughts appear, because the heart is searching for continuity and meaning, and the mind keeps returning to the one person who triggered that emotional response. True attraction begins where appearances stop mattering. Looks may catch attention, but they don't hold it. What holds it is how someone makes you feel when no one else is watching. When a person reaches beyond the surface and connects with your thoughts, your values, your fears, something shifts. You stop noticing the crowd. You start noticing how calm you feel around them, how open you become without trying. That's because real attraction speaks to the soul, not the eyes. It's in the way conversations flow without effort, in the silence that doesn't feel awkward, in the sense that you don't have to perform to be accepted. When someone sees you clearly and still stays, the heart responds in a way logic cannot explain. That connection doesn't fade when distance appears or time passes, because it was never based on physical presence alone. It settles deeper, becoming part of how you think and how you choose. You begin to compare every interaction to the standard that person set without realizing it. And even when you try to move on, something feels missing, because surface-level attention can't replace a connection that reached inside you. Once the soul has been touched, it doesn't forget, it remembers, it searches, it waits, and it keeps pulling your focus back to the one person who made you feel understood beyond words. There comes a moment when thinking is no longer enough, when the mind and the heart grow tired of existing in uncertainty. At first, confusion feels manageable. You tell yourself there is time, that clarity will come on its own, that emotions can be controlled if you stay patient. But feelings don't stay quiet forever. The heart starts asking questions the mind can't ignore. Why does this person matter so much? Why does their absence feel heavier than it should? Why does every choice seem to circle back to them? The longer these questions go unanswered, the louder they become. The mind is built to seek resolution, and when emotions are involved, unresolved connection becomes mental noise. It interrupts focus, sleep, and peace. That's when hesitation begins to feel more uncomfortable than risk. Fear still exists, but uncertainty becomes the greater threat. The heart doesn't demand perfection, it demands honesty. It wants to know where it stands, it wants movement, even if that movement leads to rejection, because rejection at least brings truth. This is the stage where imagination loses its comfort. Fantasies that once felt safe start to feel empty without direction. The emotional weight of wondering begins to outweigh the fear of acting. At this point, action is no longer about courage, it's about relief. The mind wants quiet, the heart wants alignment. Together, they push a person toward clarity, toward conversation, toward choice. Silence stops being protective and starts feeling like avoidance. Waiting stops feeling patient and starts feeling like self-betrayal. When the inner conflict grows strong enough, action becomes inevitable because staying still requires more energy than moving forward, and the soul naturally chooses the path that promises peace over the one that prolongs tension. Longing begins quietly, almost harmlessly, as a feeling you believe you can manage. At first it feels like curiosity mixed with hope, something that lives in the background without demanding too much. But when feelings grow strong, that longing starts to ask for direction. It becomes harder to ignore, harder to silence, because desire without purpose creates restlessness. The heart doesn't want to just feel, it wants to move toward what it feels. This is where intention is born. Intention is longing that has decided to stop drifting. It's the moment when emotions stop waiting for perfect timing and start seeking real presence. A person begins to imagine not just moments, but consistency, not just connection, but commitment. The thought shifts from what if to why not. Fear still exists, but it no longer controls the decision. The desire to experience something real becomes stronger than the need to stay protected. Intention brings focus. It narrows attention toward one person, one choice, one direction. It turns emotion into effort and feeling into responsibility. This is when words start to matter more, actions become deliberate, and excuses lose their power. Longing alone is passive, but intention is active. It carries weight, accountability, and purpose, because once the heart chooses intention, it is no longer satisfied with distance, uncertainty, or half connection. When two people finally come together after living in each other's thoughts for a long time, the connection doesn't feel new, it feels recognized. There is no rush to impress, no pressure to perform, because the bond was already formed internally before it ever became visible. Conversations feel familiar, as if they've been continuing silently for months or years. That sense of comfort comes from emotional alignment that existed long before physical closeness. Both people arrive already understanding each other's rhythms, boundaries, and unspoken needs. This is why togetherness in this form feels natural rather than forced. There is no need to convince or chase, because the choice was already made on a deeper level. The mind has already explored the possibilities, the heart has already accepted the risk, and the soul has already decided it belongs. What appears to others as sudden or unexpected is actually the result of quiet internal preparation. Each person has already imagined the hard conversations, the adjustments, the compromises. When they finally stand in the same space, there is relief instead of anxiety, calm instead of doubt. Even challenges feel manageable because the foundation wasn't built on impulse, but on reflection and emotional clarity. This kind of togetherness carries stability, not because it is perfect, but because it is intentional. It doesn't rely on constant reassurance, because trust has been forming long before words were spoken. When connection begins internally, being together feels less like a beginning and more like a continuation, as if life simply caught up with what the heart and mind had already agreed upon long before reality stepped in.